Hey, I'm Jose Lozano, and I'm an LA artist, I guess. And I was born in LA, but my I grew up in Juarez until 8. So all my early education is Mexicano. So I speak Spanish and I think like a Mexican. And I've been an artist for like 40 years. I have a master's from Cal State Fullerton, and I'm a multimedia kind of artist. Someone wrote an article they called me a Chicano Trickster because my work tends to be stay like funny and irreverent and it's kind of comic book because I grew up in Juarez when I read a lot of comic novelas and comic books, and I used to love borolas. Those were like comics that I grew up in. I kind of like that kind of humor. It's kind of cheeky, but not cruel, mind you. So most of my stuff has to be not pretentious and not arty because I think it should be for people to enjoy. So that's my aesthetic basically. Keep it simple, no hagas pedo, and cut to the chase and make it pretty. Because my work does have I have training. I know how to paint. I know composition. I know art history. Um, and in art school, I knew all that. Yo pensaba that to make art was to continue the European tradition. So I was pushing paint like Pollock. This is art. I'm putting my heart and my neurosis on canvas. So I'm continuing that tradition. And I was getting a lot of yawns from the teacher, and I was getting D's and C's, and I was maybe I'm not I don't have no talent. Then I started using my memories, my observations, because I had the skills. I knew how to do color company. So I use those to do what I do now. My cousin asked me, eso para qué se usa? What is art used for? And I couldn't tell her an explanation. I couldn't explain to her, and that kind of disturbed me in a way, and that kind of like made me think very hard about coming up for an answer. And to this day, I still think that's I'm still haunted by that very provocative question. For the downtown LA project, the big mural, Gloria Molina, the supervisor, we were looking at my work, and then she told me, "Ay, Jose, your work is very pretty, the color, but the people are just sitting there in their backyards, drinking beer, and some of their teeth are bad." And she said, "Can you make them more aspirational?" I go, aspirational, like I'm not Norman Rockwell. I'm not, And I told her I don't do pretty. I told her, but I would rather see a person who looks like a kid walking by and is just one of my people and it looks like his uncle. I think that's aspirational. That he's seeing someone up there who merits to be 10 feet tall looking at you. I think that's aspirational rather than a fashion model from a fashion ad. Like Posada used to give out his little pamphlets that he print every day and connected to the people and actually guiding people's brains as they're doing their shopping at the mercado. And in a witty kind of, but also in a revolutionary way. I do cards and I do like loteria games, and I do something that's familiar. Everything I do is shareable, and if it brings any kind of some kind of delight to a person, or it kind of like lights up a little bulb in somebody's head, that I think that's more effective than someone you get from a digital image. Although that can be very powerful too. And I thought of doing a metro loteria using cards depicting the metro experience. So I would do a card and I would do la grama, la entrada, la subida, el driver. So all these little things you see right in the metro. I used my faces that I've been using. It's like the existential Mexican, which is Tacasia faces, because someone once told me that all Mexicans are alike, that all Mexicans look the same. So I kind of pondered on that on paper, and then I did this whole like a wallpaper of that looks like my brother or my cousin. They look, and I use that for the background where these cards float. All this time growing up in this culture, you're made to look up to role models which don't look like you. some of them good influence, some of them bad influence. But then you're also negating what you are, where you came from, and all that stuff. So you will grow up with a warped sense of identity of what you are. So that was my subversive thing for the metro riders to look up and see behind these cars of people looking at you, and they're asking you, put yourself in my shoes for once, and your imagination open up to see what I've been through, and who I am. I'm kind of a hacker. I think where I insist that American culture look at their culture in another manner, not just with this European vein. In Americans, quote unquote, should not be lazy and follow those other veins and get familiar with them and embrace them as theirs, because it's taking root here in this country, and either claim them, be blind to them and ignorant to them, but don't condemn as foreign. It's part of their heritage, and the word heritage gets on my nerves when someone claims it as being just of one color, and that's look around, for God's sake. But that we would come back to my cousin's question, ¿para qué se usa? And to let it rip, whatever we want to say, se vale, tú dale gas, to express yourself. Whereas in other parts of the world, echarse un pedo, you're an enemy of the people. I should have told my cousin this. I'm bringing poetry to people. I think she would have said, well, I'm not gonna buy me a torta. Luckily I've gotten pats on the back, and I've gotten projects, and I've had people come to me and thanking me and giving me a lot of affection. And that's, ¿qué más quiere uno? What more can an artist ask for? And those little blessings that come your way. And just keep doing your work the best you can, and be as genuine as possible. My version of pretty is really not different, way different from yours. I don't do pretty, but look at them closely. They're kind of cute.